I'm Doris Smith, and I direct the Future Workforce and Academic Strategy at the Software Division of Siemens. And that's really focused on the gap that we have between academia and industry, and what can we do to bring those two worlds closer together and really close that skills gap. Yeah, so this is our brand new microcredential that just got launched this week. And it's really exciting. It's something we've been going down the path for as we saw things changing both in the academic and the industry side of the market. On the industry side, we saw that companies aren't going to be able to digitally transform if they can't find the talent. And there's both kind of a quantity and a quality gap. But on the academic side, we're seeing schools really want to integrate and co-develop, co-brand, co-create credentials and weave those in for a little bit more agile change to engineering education. And what we're bringing to the table are credentials that are now recognized by the accrediting body, one of the largest globally for engineering education. And so we think it's really going to be a game changer for driving change in engineering education. So thinking about traditional degrees are macro degrees, right? They may be 2, 3, 4+ year programs. Micro credentials are smaller, and they come in various forms. It may be a badge for just a single activity. It may be a certificate or a certification when you dive for a technical certification. And these micro-credentials that we're building are usually multi-course around a specific discipline, domain, or topic. And so the Expedite Skills for Industry is one we really built based on our own onboarding method, where we saw, we have these intensive 5-month onboarding, and how can we really take some of that about what is EDA, what is PLM, what are industry foundations, what are the things you need to understand about some of the emerging technologies, and really try to weave those to a younger audience. We really built this as that bridge from academia to industry, but what we find as we've rolled it out and have been piloting it over the last few months is there's interest and an appetite for that from many levels. Maybe someone who hasn't even gone into engineering education but is exploring the pathways, right, and what they might be interested in. But it may be that student that's in their latter years of engineering education, and they want to be able to show some additional, we call it street cred, right, of credentials that they've gained in knowledge and skills. Because it's really about building that digital skill set and mindset. But some of these things, because there's emerging technologies in it, some of us that are existing workforce find some value in maybe going and taking some of those single courses. So one point I'd like to make when you think about the audience for these macro credentials is, you build it with a certain persona in mind, but there may be demand, even broader than that. So there was a credential that just last week we announced got recognized by ABET, one of the largest engineering accreditation bodies globally, and that was a credential we did with the University of Colorado Boulder around circular economy. And interesting enough, the age range for who really drove that content enrollment was in the 25 to 45 range, and we even saw 45 to 55 age range for some of the courses. So these are people in workforce trying to reskill, some trying to upskill, and they're looking for those signals, right, of the topics they're interested in, and maybe can help them find a new pathway in their career, or just be recognized in their existing pathway. So what we really looked at is our own Siemens needs. I mentioned that we looked at our onboarding methods and what are the gaps that we've seen we had to fill. And then over the last year, we've been workshopping with our customers. It started a year ago at Realize Live, in really trying to get their feedback on what are the skill areas you see the biggest gaps, and how can we really help fill those. And many of them saying, like, we're struggling to transform as much as we would like, because we either can't find the right talent or they don't understand the depth of the space and the technology. And so we took that feedback directly into the framework you see in the Expedite Skills for Industry credential that we just launched. So what we do first when we look at these credentials is we get that feedback from industry and from academia. What are some of the things they've heard from their own industry advisory boards that are gaps? when we look at what are the learning objectives, the overall goal for the class, what are the specific learning objectives for those courses. One of the things I've done intentionally over the last few years is bring in talent from academia that really understand that rigor and can help us design this as a very strong program. And so we set those learning outcomes, and then we really look across Siemens and more broadly at times our ecosystem of who are the subject matter experts for that topic, and how do we bring them in, and how do we bring in the use cases of our customers that make that real. And so we really try to teach it from that pedagogy so that people understand the context and the real world application of these things that they're hearing about. Yeah, so this program is a fully online asynchronous program, and it's delivered through Coursera. So it will be out there. It launches completely in July. It's in pilot beta right now. And so it'll be out there for any learner around the world. Some will access it directly, some will access it through their corporate learning environments or through their campus access to that. But yeah, it's out there too, will be out there for anyone to access. Each course is an average about 8 to 15 hours, so in total, on average, about 50 hours we're finding from those that have gone through the pilot. But they can take it at their own pace, and yeah. So when we really look at the rigor of this program and how do we assess the quality that they've met the learning objectives, we had a real focus on learning experience. So I mentioned really bringing in kind of that education expertise. And so we looked at multiple formats because, again, while we may design this for a certain persona, we know that there might be multiple generations of people accessing this. So we did a number of different things. We brought in, live video with subject matter experts. We did some avatar-based things. And then we get into assessments, which might be in many forms. It might be quizzes, it might be formative, summative, there might be peer evaluations. We found that that's a really strong modality. Discussion prompts, fill in the blanks, multiple choice. And then we started getting into some interactive activities and even things as creative as like an escape room. And so we really try to give these immersive environments that are fun and engaging for that learner experience. Yeah, for us, the goal here was really, how do we meet this need and how do we complement what's out there and drive change in that method, right? And so the challenge that engineering education has is typically it takes many years for them to stand up new programs and evolve. And so if we can bring recognized credentials to bear, they're going to be able to drive change more frequently. And so we definitely are doing this to drive change in engineering education, to augment it, to complement it, but also, as I said, to provide that access to learners that are out to explore, and I hope that creates more pathways for them to really even consider engineering from the get-go. So to measure success on this, initially we want to look for demand. So is there strong enrollment? Is that enrollment growing? As I seek feedback from our customers, I want to see that they're adopting and trying to hire from this. But in the end, to have a robust talent pipeline that our customers, our partners, and Siemens can have access to, because we know that's really what's going to help them drive more digital transformation in their organizations. So that's what we're trying to get to, so that eventually we really have closed that skills gap. So for the Expedite skills for industry credential, that's a Siemens credential. It's been mainly Siemens subject matter experts. And then we have various other partnerships. I mentioned the previous credential that got ABET recognized with UC Boulder. And so we've looked for some strategic universities that we can now go partner with to say, now that we have ABET recognition on a credential, what does that look like? How do we start to embed that in more curricula? So there will be more partnerships you'll see us announce going forward. We've got a number of those that we're working with, both workforce development organizations as well as pure academic institutions.